And we're back. We're back for part 2 of the Stonedead 2020 Webfest questions and answers. This one, we're bringing in some of the legends. For everyone who doesn't know what the legends are, when we first started in 2017 with Stonedead, as it was called then, there was a group of people who basically bought tickets, put their money where the mouth is, and give us a little bit of financial backing, so it would get the deposits paid for the first few bands, staging, and also hiring Newark. So what we did, once we got everything into place, we created a little group for them called the Stonedead Legends. So that's why when you come to Stonedead, you'll see quick little t-shirts with Stonedead Legends. And that's basically what they are. It's just our way of saying thank you to their amazing support at the start. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. So we're going to be bringing them in very shortly. I'd like to introduce you to Jason Everett.
Hello.
Simon Collins.
Hi.
Simon Hargett.
Afternoon, all.
Pete Atkinson.
Hi, Dada.
And also in the merchant back, because he's got something he'd like to tell you. And from the production team and original Stone Deffer, this is Louise Bailey. And he's back again, Mr. Neil. All right, so we're going to get cracking with the questions very, very shortly. But, Toomsy, have you got something you'd like to tell all the boys and girls?
I certainly have, sir. Okay, second of the giveaways then, which again will be a question posted to the Facebook group, an answer on the thread. And this one's for the second bundle that will be on sale for November the 1st. And this one's a greeting card bundle. There's a birthday card, Jeff cake. Christmas card, Jeff having a drink. You may have seen these before. Christmas card, Jeff in his sleigh. And the new card for this year, the new Christmas card, which is Jeff and the ticket operations manager, Ruby. So the question is, tell me who is responsible for the magnificent artwork on all these cards and what design we should be considering for the future. Okay, who is responsible for the artwork on those cards and what design we should consider for the future? And the question is posted on the group now.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Toombs. We will catch you in a little while.
Bye-bye.
Right, so that's it. And so, as I say, we're going to be having questions fired at us from the legends. So, be gentle, boys. You know, we are fragile. We are missing being in a field today. And I think first up we have got Simon. Colin, with your first question, please, sir.
What is the annual budget for putting Stonedead Festival together?
So, what's the annual budget for putting Stonedead together? Right. Well, the first year, the first year it cost £75,000 to put on, from booking the bands, putting the staging in, hiring the venue, fencing, marquees, security, all of that jazz. And I think Louise and Neil will both say that for that first year, we were kind of very much backs to the wall, making sure we had the money in place. You know, at times it wasn't the best experience ever, was it? Louise, we'll go with Louise.
No. Sort of springtime, sort of February. It was just there was change with the festival, and we were really backs against the wall, definitely. We obviously, with the full team sort of pulled in, gave themselves to sort of raising the profile of the festival, and eventually it came. The money's come through with merch, with promotions, flyering, everything. The ticket sales started to really step up, and that's how it happened. It just turned over.
Yeah, I mean, with there was backs to the wall, and Neil, when we had countless. Oh, I've just knocked Neil out there. Unfair. We're putting the screen. I mean, Neil, you know yourself, and obviously we were kind of looking at all ways to try and generate money in case we needed it that first year, including sort of selling ourselves. And at one point,
Yeah.
already
I'm sorry. I'm finding it difficult to hear a few people, but that'll be fine. I think we're talking about the budget and the, really in the first year before we started selling tickets, we kind of relied on the crowdfunding side of things as well, and the legends and the people buying T-shirts and bits and pieces to be able to get the deposits down for the band. So that was essential at the beginning, and then obviously when we started getting the bill filled up, and people started buying more tickets. And when we announced Skid Row, it became apparent it was a major show, and we were serious about it. So the tickets started coming through, and then we could start paying the bills. But there was a point, February, March of that first year, where we were really panicking. So we needed the help of everybody, but it came through good in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's going back to the question, because we've just talked about how we with the first year, but each year the budget, we don't really set an amount of cash aside. We look at how much we've generated the previous year, and then try and do like a little bit of a forecast of like how many more people we're expecting to come through the gates, and then increase how much we can spend on that. So for this year, well, what would have been 2020, we'll put more money towards things like toilets, better facilities, more fencing, just put a second bar in, because they were the issues we had last year, and we knew that we needed to improve on what we're doing there. So each year the budget kind of grows slightly. I think the second year was 90,000, and then this year, when it's all being paid for, it'll probably be a bit more. But it's, as you can see, it's quite a lot of money involved for something which is seen as a hobby. Thanks very much for that, Simon. Does that answer your question, mate?
Yeah.
Excellent. Happy with that. Right, Pete, your question, please, sir.
Yeah, wanted to get, but didn't think you could. And then, how did you feel when you actually got that band?
Ooh. I don't know, Neil, do you want to start off with that one? Yeah.
Well, I've been shocked at every single band that we've managed to get. When Chris first said right at the beginning, we've got Graham Bonnet, and I went, "What, the Graham Bonnet cover band?" And he said, "No, we got Anvil and Graham Bonnet to play our show." And I was like, "I can't believe that." It amazed me from the start, the amount of bands. And then we started looking when we got the Choir Boys, and then when we got Skid Row. It was incredulous to me. I thought we were going to get a few little bands, maybe a cover band, and we were going to play in front of a few hundred people, and that's when it became real to me. But in the new year, when we announced that Skid Row we're going to play from, and we've got to hold our hands up to Skid Row and say thank you so much for trusting us, to have a band of that magnitude, special guests at Monsters of Rock on the main stage was incredible. So for me, when Skid Row announced it, to have Scotty Hill and Rachel on stage like that was just incredible for me. So Skid Row for me, as soon as they came on and we announced them and we put them on that poster, to see that poster was around the internet with Skid Row on, connected to a show that a bunch of fans had just got together, was fantastic. Legends.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at that poster now, and in fact, we did all right, like, didn't we, Louise? We did kind of, yeah.
Well, Neil said it really. I couldn't believe it when we actually got Skid Row. I've been a mega fan for ages. And when we actually got that, and to actually sort of look after them from my point of view was just amazing. It was, it literally was a dream come true. I mean, they've played some huge stages over their time, and they were just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, that first year we did it backwards because we had to do it in terms of how much money we had available at the time, and it was quite a tough one to pull together at the time, simply because we started off with green bonnets, chrome molly, and we had massive wagons as the first announcement. So we had to use that to try and give us the platform to sell the tickets, which happened. And then we had a bit of money to kind of try and dangle in front of the bigger bands as a deposit. And we tried for all sorts of things. We tried for Saxon, we tried for Thunder. We set our sights really, really high. We looked at UFO, Uriah Heep. We went for some bands which we knew would be crowding. And Skid Row came along, and fantastically for us, they said yes. And it proved to be a cracking booking on our behalf. A multi-platinum band first year is just, it's the stuff of dreams. So I think Skid Row probably is the big one. Although, just to quickly say that the second year when we were looking at the bands, we had an idea of where we wanted to be with all of the lineup and stuff. And for the special guest, we tried for Inglorious the first year for ages, and we couldn't get them. So the second year, I got in touch with their management and their agent, and at the same time, I thought, I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket. I'll speak to Phil Campbell and the Bar Stewart Sons. And so talking to both at the same time, thinking we might get one, we might get none, but at least we've got two options available. And then they both kind of came back and went, yeah, we'll do it. So I was like, okay, then where do I go with it? So I had to kind of go back and say that, right, okay, we're going to have a kind of joint special guest thing going on here. And they were both really great about it. And to be honest, after that, the rest of the lineup just kind of clicked into place, because we said we've got Glenn Hughes, Inglorious, Phil Campbell, and it was a case of like every band were kind of approached after that. We're like, yeah, we'll do it. So that was the second year was just absolutely a piece of cake compared to the first year to put in place. Although, can I just say, because we'd set the bar so high that first year and everybody had the best time ever, we were really feeling the pressure when we put that poster out, and we were adding the bands in thinking, I hope people are happy with this. And fortunately, yeah, they were. So that's it. So if we move on to the next question, Jason.
When choosing and booking the bands, what has been the most testing aspect during the decision-making process, and how have you been able to resolve issues as they've arisen to get the right bands and deals for Stonedead Festival?
Issues, big issues, massive issues. There's always issues. I think one of the biggest one for me is I'm quite impatient. I like if I want to do something, I want to get it done yesterday, and and when you're dealing with the fans, one of the biggies is there's a chain.
Dropped out a minute.
I'm back. Is everybody back? Everyone's back, right? Yeah. Sorry. There's a chain. So I'll speak to the agent speak to the management will then speak to the band. So you kind of got to wait for all that to come back, because the agent will ask the management, are they available? Yes, the band's available. I'll just double check with each of the members of the band. And then everybody might be available, but the drummer might be at a wedding that weekend. But it takes a while for it to come back. So it's not the most straightforward process as a lot of people like to think, where you can just go off to Wayward Sons and say, Wayward Sons, can you do Stonedead next year? It does take a little bit of time to get things in place. But I mean, Neil and Louise, you're both there when we're going through it, and you can see it's quite testing. Louise, what's your thoughts on this one?
It was just, I mean, obviously, because you booked the bands and everything, we were getting fed the information as you were getting fed the information. And it's like sort of sitting on a cliff edge, really, because, you know, you sort of invested in wanting that band, but then you're literally waiting the entire time. And then it's almost like dangling a carrot. You think we're so close to having that band, but then something snatches it away from you. It's a really, it's hard to explain, really. But it's a roller coaster for sure.
Yeah. It's, I mean, it can be frustrating because you can have your sights set on one particular band, and then you think you've got them, and at the last minute, that carpet gets pulled from your feet, and it's deflating. It goes up there a little bit, but then you've got to take a step back and think, well, we've already had this band, this band, this band, this band. I mean, when we lost Heat, when we had Ty Kettle pull out because of the lurgy, and we looked at quite a few bands, including Heat, and the time of things coming backwards and forwards, it was quite bad. And because of the pandemic, and people who were on furlough were waiting even longer to get a response because everyone was busy doing other things during the pandemic. I mean, Neil, have you got anything you want to add to that one?
I just say the most difficult thing for me is the expectations of each. You know, we've got a lot of generations within the production crew, and we all have an input into which bands are asked to play and which ones are booked. So, you know, you've got the generation. Some of the kids are still in the 20s and 30s, and you know, I'm in my 50s and above, etc. And big people have got different tastes in music. You know, people who like the thrash, the punk, and the more melodic rock and that. So it's basically the expectations of each person within the production group. But we always come to the right conclusions. We always get on in the end, and we say, you know, we get the decision made. So it's brilliant.
Right. Yeah. Simon, are you ready for Simon H? Yeah.
Yeah. How did Stonedead first come about from the Monsters of Rock Facebook group?
That's funny one. Do
you want me to answer that one?
I'll be really honest. If me and Neil had been eye to eye 2 years beforehand, chances are Stonedead or whatever it was called possibly would have happened, because it was mentioned quite a few times. And I put a post, I think 2015, going, we could do a festival here, because there's people had the right sort of like skills and aptitudes and sort of experience of doing other things, and it just didn't really happen. And then it was just the clouds, the planets aligned, and I think the question got put up on a Sunday night, and everybody kind of piled in, and it was everybody seemed to have the right attitude, the right sort of like, yeah, we can do this, we can make it happen. It could be really, really good, and everybody in the group seemed to buy into that at the same time. And it was a case of, all right, this has got a bit of sort of legs on it, and it just kind of snowballed from there. But I mean, Neil is one of the admin for the Monsters of Rock group. I mean, he's got to take sort of, guys that are same as Louise, have got to take sort of credit for pushing that group to get the right people in, and obviously inadvertently get the people in who then sort of like went off to, be part of Stonedead and go from there. We did start with 13 people behind it all, and then I think it was just after Christmas, we were down to 6. So, you know, it's people obviously got involved and thought, yeah, it's a good idea. And then because of life's commitment and everything like that, the slowly thought, you know, they say, I can't commit to what's actually needed long term, which was fair enough, because it's just one of those big things. But I mean, Neil, to that, mate, because obviously you were in from the start, the same as Louise.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm struggling to hear. There's an echo somewhere, but I think I'm being asked about this again, so I'm finding it difficult to hear. But basically, what happened was there was a download page with tens and tens of thousands of people on, where people kept, saying, let's have a one-day festival. We're sick of these 5-day festivals, etc. So we kind of broke away, because a lot of the young kids were giving the older knackers like me a bit of an hard time about constantly going on about the old days of Monsters of Rock. So we formed the Monsters of Rock Veterans Group. We talked about the one-day festival, and then someone kind of said on a thread, well, if you like it so much, why don't you try and do one yourself? So at that point, Chris, before I really knew Chris, this was about 5 years ago, he said, well, I've run a festival, you've done this. There's loads of different skills within that group. I was a squaddy at the time, so event organising is something I've done before. Health and safety, people who've done finance, security. So everybody was like kind of around in that group. And it kind of just materialised on a thread. Well, let's give it a go then. And we give it a go. We went up to Newark, about 12 of us, met on site, had a look around, said, this sounds like a really good crack, we could do this. Some people have fallen by the wayside, other people have joined, and it's become a really good group now. So, not one person is responsible for the creation of Stonedead. It's basically the group all got together, things aligned, we all did our little bits and pieces, and it just materialised. And it's been brilliant since then on. And but it's definitely a lot to do with that group and the people in it, and the diversity of trades and things we bring to the table.
Louise?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I just remember all the conversations going on, and there was a bit of banter, and it was almost like living the dream. You'd think, well, yeah, it's a pipe dream. We're never going to do that, but I'm up for a challenge. Let's do it. So we all essentially volunteered to begin with, and then we was like, what area, what field do you, what experiences have you got? And we all put like little CVs together. So we knew from the offing where each person could be directed. So my field was like customer service and finance. So essentially I'm hospitality, and I do the admin as well. Chris is IT, so he's a bit of a whiz that way, but it went on and on and on like that. So everybody had their own niche avenues to go down. But we actually do sort of, spill over into each other's areas, obviously, because we have to coordinate the thing. And but it was essentially, it very much started on banter and dreams.
Yeah, I mean, the whole team which we've got now behind it all, it's, everyone does it voluntarily. We all buy our own tickets. We actually do buy the tickets to the gig. We've got a team of 20 people in the production team, and all the money we do make, if there's a profit at the end of it, it goes straight back into the next event to try and alleviate that stress we had the first year, which we were talking about with Simon's question earlier on. So as long as we're treading water and we're keeping our heads above water throughout the year, we're getting an extra bit of cash, we'll pump that back in, and then we don't ever intend to be like millionaires from it. Although it might be nice to sort of have a weekend at Butlins once a year with it, So we'll go. That's that one. You okay with that one, Simon?
Yeah, thank you.
Right, Simon. Your next question.
How far in advance do you book the bands?
How far in advance? How long's a piece of string? So I mean, so I think now that we've established ourselves, we try to think ahead like 18 months in advance. Where the first year it was literally like we had to get the first year done, so we got that out of the way with, and we knew where we were in terms of finance. We didn't have a loss and everything like that. And then this year we started looking. I think it would have been maybe it's June, July time last year, but because we had the issue with the name change, we didn't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. And then at the beginning of the year, February, March, I was like, oh, we're doing really well. The tickets were flying out the door, and we were like cooping on gas. So I started thinking, right, okay, who should we look at for 2021? And then obviously the lurgy kicked in, the pandemic kicked in, and it looked more a case of we need to get 2020 out the way with first before we start looking at 2021. And then, so I think for 2022, we'll be looking at conversations probably March time. You know, Louise, again, we have conversations all the time in terms of like who should we be looking at next year, and like even further ahead, trying to predict who's got albums coming out and stuff like that. Over.
Yeah, it's a really difficult one because there's so many bands, but it's whether the bands we're looking at fit within the bill. And then you've got outside influences, meaning you can't or can have the bands. So you're up against it time-wise. And then you've got the order of things to be announced in. Like the first year, we did it in reverse. We did sort of it up the bill. And obviously, as other festivals, then you've now come down the bill. So we've got to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row before we sort of start announcing. But then a spanner can be thrown into the works by somebody that you thought was going to happen has now had a change of circumstances and they can't. So then poor Chris has got a gap to fill. So, and then it's finding the ideal replacement, somebody of the same quality, and it's going to, please the same amount of people. So it's really difficult, sort of to put a time scale on things because there's always chaos theory.
Yeah. Neil, do you want to come in on that one? Neil.
Let's call him Neil.
Neil. To Neil. I think we've lost him.
Duke's pretty much bloodied again.
I think we've lost Neil. Yeah, we've lost him.
Down the road.
Yeah, we've lost him. I think he must have knocked the audio.
No, I've got nothing to add to that, guy. You do a great job with the bands and everything's done in advance. I'm just struggling to hear what people are saying.
Right, okay. Pete, next question, mate.
Okay. What was the most challenging aspect of organising the festival that you didn't really expect to be?
I'm struggling to hear you. Sorry, guy.
It's questions on the screen there, Neil.
Can't hear you guys.
No. Do you want to answer the question there, Neil? What's on the screen? No? Okay. All right, Louise, do you want to put your bid in for that one?
Organised.
Can you hear me, can you? Because I can't hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Do you want to go for that one?
Leave it. Can you hear me or not?
Yes, I can. We can hear you, Neil. Neil, we can hear you. Right, okay, Louise, go for it.
Okay. I think there's many different parts. I mean, challenging as in guaranteeing getting the Stonedead family through the door is, I would say, the biggest one. Pleasing people is second, but obviously when you see smiles on faces and they're having an absolute blast, it's like phenomenal. So that bit's worth it. Unusual parts, I would say, things like the stage. not anchoring to the ground. It's not an organisational thing, but obviously we didn't know what was down there under the ground. These are just sort of little things that come into the mix, and they, we have to iron them out on the hoof, if you see what I mean. But you can organise it as much, to the T as you can, but there's always something that surprises you. But I would certainly say the most challenging part is to make sure that everybody has a really good time.
I don't know. Can you hear us, Neil? You've knocked his microphone off now. You've knocked your microphone off.
Right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Answer the question.
Right. So, sorry, I'm the techno twat. Chris has done all the work, and all he tells me to do is just sit here and talk, and I can't even fucking manage that. Right. So the hardest thing for me about is managing the people themselves, because you've got people, the volunteers and the people in the staff and everybody, and people are all different personalities. When I joined I'd only recently left the army, so when I tell people to do a certain thing, 3 or 4 would run off and do it, and then I wouldn't have to ask them again, and then the other ones would just go off and go on the piss or do something else. And then you think, well, I wonder if that job's done. And it was so different to being in the military, where you knew everything was done. So, and then I'd walk around halfway through the day when things are supposed to be happening, and you'd find someone not in the place where they're supposed to be. As a squaddy, they would have just gone off and done it. So for me, to be a different kind of operational manager and to deal with people was the hardest thing. So that's operationally on the day. The actual production staff, all fantastic workers, but again, each have their own personalities, and they all brought different things in. So managing the people who are in the volunteers and the staff has been the hardest thing for me, and I've had to calm my shit down, because obviously squaddies go around shouting and screaming at people. So I've had to do that, really. I've had to calm down a little bit and just expect and say please a lot more to people. Would you please go and do this, and rather than just do it. So that's been hard. I've had to chill out.
Brilliant. Yes, yeah. I think, to be fair, we've all had to learn a lot of things about ourselves and about how things happen for things like Stonedead and making a festival work. And it is very much a team effort, and you've got to entrust people to do things, and sometimes that doesn't get done, so you're then having to reallocate that job to someone else, and it's kind of set you back a couple of weeks or a couple of months because you assumed it was getting done, and then you come back and go, all right, so how we're getting on with this, and it's like, oh, I haven't been able to do it because of X, Y, and Z. It's like, could you have told us that about 6 weeks ago, because we could have put someone else in to help, I mean, none of us are adverse to getting our hands dirty. We'll get stuck in and do anything. I mean, if people remember back to the first year, everybody was out. The production team were there picking the litter up at the end. We've all done a stint on the car park. Throughout the year, we do the crappy mundane jobs, like making sure that the flyers are getting sent out, the tickets are getting sent out. It's everything which is the glamour side is sort of, you can look at that and it's a really small part of how things work, because there's a load of like mundane stuff which needs doing before the glamour stuff kicks in. So for me, it's just a case of making sure that we manage to get all the little bits and bobs done, so the nice things kick in, and they kick in really well. So it's a challenge, and it's not really getting any easier. We just know what we're doing better, I would say. So yeah, anyway, next question, Jason.
In the darkest days from the very beginning to now, especially when this pandemic has postponed the festival for 12 months, what motivates you all to keep you going following such disappointment?
So, Neil, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah. For me, it's an absolute love, a passionate love of rock music since I was a kid, since I was about 12 or 13. the people, the music on the stage, the events that I've loved all my life. So, you know, when it's 2 o'clock in the morning and things are happening, or we're being forced to change the name, we're doing other things where the money's running out, we're under pressure. You announce a band and you get a load of people maybe slating it on the website. You think, oh God, is this all worth it? There's other things happen on the day operationally. People leave the production crew. You get a bit of a slagging, you get a dodgy email, you know, things like that. And then all I think of is, you know, sitting in front of that stage on the first year when Skid Row were playing and listening to In a Darkened Room and just going, every single second of that crap beforehand is worth it for this. And no doubt we'll have some future dramas, but everything will be worth it, you know, when it kicks off again next bank holiday and the first band come on and there's 3,000 or 4,000 people in that arena all on the piss having a great time in the sunshine and having a brilliant time. So that's what keeps me motivated, is simply the music and the legends that we've got on stage there in front of us, my heroes on stage, and so that's what keeps me motivated. Awesome.
Louise?
I would, it sounds cliche, but that first Stone Deaf, I came out of the Cedric Ford Pavilion and you could see people milling into the arena. There was music playing, the sun was shining, and I'm not the only one. There are a few other people shed a tear because it actually all come to fruition. It was, like Neil said, the best feeling in the world, and all the other rubbish that we've been up against, and we've had some real bad issues sometimes. It's not knocked us down. So the first year we had issues with one thing, the second year we had issues with another. We thought, you know, 2020, it's going to be great. We've got all these issues out of the way. Who'd have thought we'd had a global pandemic? So I'm like, yeah, do you know what? Bring it on, 2021. You just can't. The love of the people within the Stonedead community, and also, you know, even within sort of the productions and the staff, the camaraderie is second to none. And it is just one big happy family. Yeah, some of the family members act up at times, but all family members do. So, you know, but it is so worth it.
Yeah, I mean, again, what Louise said there, we've had obstacles from right from the start in terms of like getting the band, promoting events, selling tickets to get the money generated to pay the bills. First year was a toughie just to make sure that we didn't lose 40 grand, which we would have had to sell out of our own money. Neil was going to sell a Les Paul, Louise was going to sell her husband for camels. And I was sort of like getting ready to raid the family silver, you know. But for me, what makes it worthwhile is there's a photograph just behind us there, which John Henley took at 2019. And that's when I see stuff, I'm going to well up now, is to say that we've done that from our hard work. That is what keeps us going up to motivate it. And we do get really, pardon me French, shit days or shit weeks where things are just like falling apart and you're kind of clutching at straws trying to put things back into place. But when you see people's photographs where they're bringing the kids and families are coming, again, I'm getting a bit worried away. It makes it all worthwhile. And for those hundreds and hundreds of positives, it's sort of like far supersedes the negatives. It's just the negatives at the time feel like almost impossible to get over. But we've got a really good team like the likes of Neil and Louise and everybody else who's involved. And we're kind of like, when someone's like sort of getting a bit back to the wall, we do step in and give like a bit of a push to sort of get us going again. So yeah, we do get challenges, but we're a big team and we've got people who can kind of like step in and say, right, how good things are going to be in August. And as I keep on saying, it'll be easier next year. And so far it hasn't, because we've had issue after issue in a global pandemic. I don't know what's going to go above that to sort of make that like seem like a minor issue, but we'll see for 2021. But yeah, I think we've got Simon Gage for the last question.
Yeah, so how do you go about selecting the opening band apart from the poll that we get involved in? What's the rest of the process?
With that one, what we'll do now is the 12 bands who get put into the final, because it's always a 10. I think it was 10 last year. We had 5 each. The top 2 from each heat get put into the final. And once the final rounds all set, basically we'll look at each one. We'll look at the lineup, which we've got, which quite a few times. All the bands haven't been announced by the time we're in that final, so we know what bands we've got to announce. So we'll look at the bands who were in the last 10 and see which is going to be a decent fit and work from there. But the way it's decided ultimately is every band's kind of given a score, and then it's the band with the highest amount of points ends up going through. And this is what we were talking about this one earlier on, and we've all got but I wouldn't say bizarre in differences in tastes, but we've all like Neil, for example, liked a lot of like the heavier stuff, which for 2019 we had Soldato in that final round, and Neil was like, these are going to blow everyone away. And then when everybody started putting the scores in, it was a case of like, we've all got this most bizarre sort of taste, difference in taste, and away you go. Neil, do you want to go for that one?
I just want to say that I don't get involved. Chris does all the coordinating of all the bands and that. I just listen to. I've got the pleasure of listening to these fantastic new bands, usually the new bands, and every single heat is just full of incredible bands. I mean, the likes of Revival Black that I listened to last year that didn't make it onto the stage because Dead Man's Whiskey is so fantastic, and there's been so many brilliant bands. Praying Mantis entered it, so I don't get involved in. Chris does all the admin as he usually does because he's a legend with that, but I just listen to all these fantastic bands and say they're brilliant, and so that's the procedure for me. That's all I get involved in. And then when the final comes along, and we've just got 10 of these most incredible bands, and we've just got to vote. I've got to vote. One's the best and one's the worst, and they're not. None of them are the worst. They're all brilliant. So that for me, the opening poll is just a joy. It's opened my eyes up to so much fantastic music, and long may it continue. Brilliant.
Louise?
Yeah, I mean, along the lines of what Neil said, really, sort of from our input, being on productions, essentially they're all scored. We all put the order of preference in. However, I don't know if anybody's ever done it. They've said, "Oh, name your top 5 tracks," or "Not name your top 10 tracks." It's impossible because you like everything. You like what you like, and then trying to decide between the two, even just 2 bands is difficult enough. And you're listening to the first band, and you think this is brilliant. Second band, I'm thinking they're a bit different. I really like them. And then you've got to actually isolate who is the best. And it's very, very difficult. I ended up with a very big middle card. I had like somebody that was my favourite. And then there was a group of about 6 that I couldn't choose from. Literally couldn't choose from. And I kept playing them over and over and over again. And I'm sure I'm not the only person on the production team that was left with that scenario, really. So essentially, but the way that they do it, we're having to sort of essentially grade them. It means that essentially the top band could actually be everybody's second choice, but because they get scored, it means that they can go into the top spot because more in the productions team rate them highly. So it's a very fair way of doing it.
One of the things which we've noticed is when we first started doing the opening poll, is it opens a lot of people up to new bands. Baleful Creed is one example where nobody's really heard of them until they went in our opening poll. Now every year people are like, you need to get Baleful Creed on, even second on, they shouldn't even be opening. So it does open people up to new bands and gives bands a new audience, which is what was one of the main reasons why we did it as well, because it really gives these new up and coming bands a bit of a platform. And yeah, they might not get to play on that stage behind us, but they are getting more fans and they're selling merch and they're selling CDs, and it's allowing them to continue. So that's one good thing about it for me. So I'm pleased how it's been the way it is, and it's been a success so far. So long may that continue. Fingers crossed. I think that's everything. I think we're ready to kick in with part 2 of the Webfest. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Jason, Simon, Pete,
guys.
for being part of it. Thank you for being legends. We couldn't be here without your support. So brilliant.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I know you're going to bounce it down and everything, but I think I speak for me and everyone else who goes to Stonedead, whatever we're calling it nowadays. You guys who work all year round tirelessly without earning a penny, have put your own money on the line. You guys are the legends. You give us a weekend that we absolutely love. You've put us in contact with people who have become not just friends, but family. And you guys deserve all the respect in the world for everything you've done. So you guys are the legends. I don't care what you say. You'll say I'm wrong, but you guys are the legends. Thank you very much for everything you do.
He's right.
And that's it, Matt.
Yeah.
I was always wearing sunglasses like Neil now, because the reason he's wearing sunglasses is because he's got a T in his eye. Anyway, thank you very much. These are all fantastic. We love you lots. As I said, we wouldn't be here without you. That's why you're Stonedead Legends. We'll see you at the bar next year. Get drunk now, enjoy yourselves, and go and watch the Webfest part 2. Thanks very much.